Let's get started again, folks. Session 10, BDD. It's a huge new chapter for you guys. This is gonna change a lot of the concepts that you so far have been learning. This is gonna take you to the highest level, actually, right now for automation. This is what everybody wants to get into, because gone are the days of messy code. For example, hard to read this stuff right here. For somebody to follow through, debug which code, which line, doesn't even make any sense. That's just for software engineers. But if anybody in the company, anyone else, wanted to know what are you testing in here, they would have no idea. A business analyst would have no idea what this is. What about executives? What if the project manager or director of engineering wants to know what's happening in the testing world? What are you testing? They won't understand these steps. Okay. Yeah, if they look at the report, they may know add new contact. You're trying to add new contact. But they won't understand, what did you do? What are these steps that you implemented to add new contact? And as a matter of fact, they won't be able to understand your failure report. They won't be able to do anything. They're blind. So solely dependent on you. Now, things are changing. Everybody wants to be informed about everything. So when you write a test case, they want to know, what are you testing? They want to have access to that report. They want to check the report and see why it failed. In case you're busy, they can come in a handy. They may kind of point out to you. Every once in a while, my supervisor will point out to me, hey, a test case failed in production. He's trying to tell me indirectly that maybe your test case is bad, or go check what's going on. And if that test case is bad, take it down. Because they don't want a failure to be up there on the monitor or online for executives to look at it, and we not do anything about it. Okay, so, and if there is a failure in the production, executives can see it, they will always ask questions, what's failing, because they're worried about it. And if we don't have an answer, what's failing, instantly, then that's bad. They'll be like, come on, you're probably not on top of your job. So either we know what's failing and keep the failure there, let them look at it, or we take it down if it's a test case issue. Now, chances are, even if it's a valid failure, you don't want to leave it there. What you want to do is you want to create a bug report based on that valid failure. You create a bug report and you disable that test. So let's say I would disable this test right here. This found a bug. I would disable this test. Block. You actually don't have to block comment. If you just comment out this test right here, that's it. You disabled that test. Because with that add test, that test was being run. But you commenting this add test, that just took it off your run list. Okay? So you comment it out, and probably you write to do C bug ticket, bug Jira ticket, and then you give it a number like SCC, whatever that is, 234. Okay? When that bug is fixed, you come back up here and you uncomment this part. You take this part off, You run the test case, see if it runs, everything good to go. Keep launching that test case. Does that make sense? So you want to have your report clean. You want to have a all passing situation. And if there are some bugs, file the bug report, take the test down. You don't have to keep on running the failure test and show them there's a bug. You already filed the bug report. Somebody's going to work on it. Okay. Now you understand there are two types of bug. One is a blocker bug. That means we cannot release it. And then there is a bug that is, it's okay. We can let it go. All right. Your project manager is going to decide on that. So anyway, messy code we were getting into. This is going to get cleaned up with BDD, right? And when you go for an interview, you are going to say, this is the project you're working. Okay, this is the framework that you use. Now, before we get to that, let me just kind of recap what I have for you today, and then we'll carry on from there. There's a lot. Today's class is gonna, in one day, 4 hours, you're gonna know how to code in BDD, and you can understand the whole thing. So just bear with me. There are some words that will come across in BDD. First of all, BDD, behavior-driven development is what it means. You're gonna see something called gherkin. People talk about gherkin. What is that? We'll learn about that. We're gonna build a BDD framework from scratch and automate 2 test cases, run it, take a look at the report and see how it works. And this framework uses something called Cucumber, and we're gonna be using JUnit. TestNG can be used too, but the dependencies that I have, they have this Cucumber and JUnit kind of work together. Therefore, we're gonna use JUnit. I have not tried to build a Cucumber TestNG framework yet, but that can be done as well. I have these pictures right here of gherkin and cucumber. Gherkin is actually a smaller pickle type cucumbers. All right, and you've seen the pickle cucumbers in Walmart?
Cornichons.
Huh?
Cornichons. They call it cornichons.
That's another name for that. I can't pronounce that. But so that's what it is. Actually, these gherkins will eventually become cucumbers, the bigger ones, right? That's the idea here. And same thing, you will see how this gherkin is going to become your test case. This test case is going to become your cucumber automation. Okay. So that small thing will become big thing. That's how they kind of thought about it. But anyway. So going forward, I do have this PowerPoint. I'm not going to go over this whole thing, but I don't think it's needed. The idea of BDD comes from the concept of software development. There are 2 types. Do you remember those? I may have touched on them, right? A little bit. Probably. Okay, so this is overarching software development philosophy. One is test-driven development. And in test-driven development, what we have is they look at the requirements, and based on the requirements, software engineers will first develop unit test. Unit test meaning if the requirement is for this image to display, they're going to create a test with JUnit. They're going to create a test where they're going to assert this image displayed. Okay, so they're going to create that first. even before they put the image in their same class where they're going to display the image. Make sense? And then they're going to work on it. Then they're going to add this image and they're going to do a build. If they do a build, they can't obviously see whether the image is displayed or not in their code, but their assert for that JUnit is going to check it. And if that assert JUnit passes, they're good. They move on to the next task. They're done with that requirement. Does that make sense? That's how it used to be done before. Not a lot of QA engineers were there in the past. They thought that it's not needed. Also, there were no technology for automation. Most of the time, it was just a group of people they would hire, like a room full of people. Hey, go ahead, and you are gonna be boss of this module here, and they would divide that work out to certain people, and then say, hey, go ahead and you test this, and you test this module, and see if there's any errors. And then no more errors, software build. All right, bye-bye. And then there would still be software engineers making modifications, but they didn't need anybody to test it. But now they realize that it's getting more and more sophisticated, and they need QA automation engineers. So they are kind of moving away from this test driven because they see that I don't need unit test if I already have QA engineers testing it. So, but it's a good practice to have a this is called black box, because you can't see it. It's in the code. White box testing is what you can see, the UI you can see, but you can't test this. This is, and in developers code, you can't test the code, but a unit test can test developers code. That's why it's black box, meaning it's behind no human interaction and so forth. So after the unit test, the code is written, and unit test becomes the regression. There may be some QA involved, may not, but this is now becoming obsolete. They think it's kind of tedious, maybe double doing, and also sometimes developers cheat. They don't write the unit test. It's too much. They move on with the code. Okay. Other times what would happen is if developer wrote a code and he also wrote a unit test, and let's say there was an assert, true, assert, false. There's a whole bunch of assert, okay? He's asserting this button show up, this button show up, this button thing. And all of a sudden, there was some error that maybe this one failed and this one failed and everything else is fine. And it's a deadline he needs to turn in, or whatever he is just lazy, doesn't want to deal with it. He's just going to comment that code out. Nobody would know, or nobody would check, and move on. But that error is going to create some down the road failure for the customer. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so that was happening quite a bit, and we see that in our company too. Every now and then, I have access to their code changes, whatever they're merging. So every once in a while, I'll pull up and see what they wrote, how much they changed, things like that. You'll have access to that too. But a best approach is behavior-driven approach, where still we want the unit test. We recommend. Yes.
How do you know whether he has 57 lines of code and he added one line? So how do you differentiate between the previous code and the
Remember how I showed you when they do a pull request, you can see how much they added with green, and what was already there before was in gray. Those green differences are going to show up in green. If you delete, what color? Red. If you deleted a line, it's going to be red. If you added a line, it's going to show up in green. If you didn't do any change, that's gray. Yeah. So you can just see that and tell what happened to the code. Now, what is then BDD? Why is this approach different? Well, now people are thinking this is too technical, and it doesn't look at from the user perspective. If you need an image, you create a test for it, and then you write the code and make sure the test passes for it, and then you're good. Move on. But we never really looked at what that feature was, or how that feature should behave. Why don't we take all this technical jargon out and make it more readable, more user-friendly, and think it from the user perspective? Okay? Thinking it from the user perspective would be more like, what is this button supposed to do? If I click add deposit, it takes me to add deposit. So this dashboard button has a behavior. The behavior of this button is when I click on add deposit button, then I should be on add deposit page, correct? More like more human ways of dealing with things. When I fill in this add deposit box and hit the submit button, then a deposit should be made, and that deposit record should be displayed. Okay? Very readable human interaction way of doing things. Ultimately, it goes down to what is the behavior. So if we look at what are these behaviors, and if we break it down this way and tell the developers to build something with that behavior, it's very easy to read and figure out and execute. With that philosophy is also being used in automation. How? Let's say this button here. Starting from the very beginning, when the requirement was made. So the requirement could be develop, don't write this, add deposit button. Okay, this is how it used to be before. And from that requirement, business analyst would probably write a ticket for you as a developer, and you're going to look at that ticket and you're going to develop this. Sometimes they have no information, and they may have just the ticket heading like this in Jira, just that, and in the body, nothing. You don't have much clue what's going on. Why? Because the BA already spoken with the developer, and developer understand what needs to be built. They didn't write anything, but you don't know that as a QA. You go and open the ticket, you're like, I need to test it, but there's no information. Laziness, okay? Not supposed to be like that. Other times they will have something inside the body says acceptance criteria. In the acceptance criteria may say button should, they're not going to write too much. Square button, blue color, if they're very nice, would say will navigate to add deposit page, something like this, okay? But all of these can be written in a beautiful, systematic way. And that's where behavior-driven development philosophy you'll see how we're going to use it. So what are we going to do? Then let me see. Let me just recap this one. So we got the requirements. We think about what the behavior of that requirement is. We write the code, and after the code is done, you do functional testing, which QAs come in place in this case. And this is where companies are moving into. Okay. I'm going to skip through some not needed. Do want to talk about this. So what is the framework of behavior-driven development? In order to organize things in that user perspective format, you may have had some of these information with Adnan. I don't know. You start with something called a feature. What are you trying to develop? It could be a login feature. It could be adding deposit feature. It could be transfer money a feature. Display risk levels a feature. Okay, everything that the developer will create or the requirements will want is some sort of a feature. Understand? You don't think of anything else. Everything to you in the UI is a feature. Either it has behavior or it's static. It is a feature. Understand? Meaning, in behavior development, BDD framework, this graph is a feature. Displaying of this graph is a feature. Either I click on it or I can expand or not, doesn't really matter, it's a feature. This panel is a feature. This widget is a feature. So everything, you click on the set goals and this gives you this pop-up, that's a feature. And you write out the feature. First thing you want to say, why? What is that feature for? Why is it needed? Kind of in a deeper sense of what it is. So take a look at this. For this particular feature, login, there's a format of writing what this feature is. If you just focus on these 3 words or phrases as I want, so that, and you fill in the blanks, then you got it. And you don't have to be super fancy on this. This is just a formality in behavior-driven development that you must have the description of what that feature is. Now, notice that you don't need requirements anymore. A developer, a business analyst can start their requirement definition just like this. But they have hard time writing it like this. They can't figure it out. Either they can't think like that. And why can't they think like that? I've seen in my team, I have one business analyst can really do an awesome job in writing like this. The other can't. And I was thinking, is it because he can't, or he won't, or he doesn't like it? It's not, maybe a little bit of both. Sometimes when you're done in a certain way for a long period of time, it's hard to adapt a new style. So maybe that's one factor. And 2, because it's hard, you don't want to do it. Okay, so a little bit of a both. Now, you come in as a competitive advantage because you've never done it before. So it's new to you. You will take and adapt anything that's thrown at you. Maybe 30 years from now, you will not want to adapt to a new style. But right now, this is awesome. So for me, I didn't know what gherkin was until I started the work. And I nobody taught me. I was just looking at the framework and I see the framework has these wordings. And I was watching some videos and things and reading some articles online and then trying to figure out the purpose and the beauty of this. And now it's like a second nature for me. When I look at the feature, it just comes out as a BDD format. While others are getting complained because they're not being able to adapt in the company and write it that way. And they've been asking me to go and train them on it as well. So if you can adapt to this and go to your company, and your company may not have this, but you should voice for it. And chances are they don't have it because they don't have the people to lead something like this. But if you can inspire them and tell them that the beauty of this framework and how it's done, and if you can infiltrate into your company and your developers and build them into all that BDD philosophy, hey, you're going to become the pioneer in your company. And who knows, you may become somebody huge and they will recognize you, promote you, and all the good things are going to happen. So let's learn what this is, okay? If you take any feature and think of 3 ways to put it, you got a requirement. As a I want, so that. Let's try to come up with a couple from this site. Let's take a look at this feature. Set goals. Throw anything at it. Want to take a shot? Obviously, you need to know what it does, right? First of all, so if you click on it, set new goal for network. Okay, you don't have to have domain knowledge much. Like, what is this doing? But you saw the pop-up comes up and it sets some sort of new goal. Just use these words. Anybody wants to take a raise your hand? Okay.
As a graphic user,
Uh-huh.
I want to click, be able to click on a button so that it goes to the pop-up screen. It goes to another screen. So,
Yes, keep going. Good. And then?
so that there's a pop-up button, there's a pop-up.
Okay. Very good. You want to steer from more like what are the actions. You want to say what are the purpose more. So you want to rephrase that one?
We can say as a file user,
Mm-hmm.
I can add a goal. Like by going to set goals,
Mm-hmm.
I should be able to set a new goal for the network.
Yes, I like the ending part. Very nice. As a valid user, I want a set goal feature that would give me the option to set a new goal. Okay? It doesn't say it's going to come up with a pop-up. It's not going to say that I need to click on it. Nothing. How you want to design that comes later. This is just a requirement. What do the executives want? Think it from the executive's perspective. Okay? As a user, why is that as a user important? Because sometimes there are internal users, external users. external users may be able to have these buttons. External meaning does not work for my company. Internal users may see this panel with some extra data that customers don't see. Okay, that's why it's important to specify as a first. Okay? So as a who is the audience for this? Who is the actual user for this? Because based on that, things can change. Why? If you say as an internal user, the developer is going to know that it's an employee. That means developer has to create this panel in a way that only the employees have access. Does that make sense? And when customers log into this site, they don't see this data because it's sensitive data. Okay, so that's why that first part is important. And so that is going to define what are you going to do. And I want is like what's going to be there. What are the functionalities going to be there? And so that is more like why part of that functionality. Let's try a couple more, okay? How about this add expense button here? Who can raise your hand if you want to give it a shot? And if I click here, it takes you to this page. So go ahead.
As an internal user,
External.
external user, I want
No.
I will be able to
I want what?
add. Okay.
I want what?
So as a
You don't have to say able to. Just say
I want to click.
I want to add. I want to add.
I want to access expense today.
To add the amount.
To
Add expense feature.
add expense. So I'm very very.
it's okay. But I really like that you all are trying. Go ahead.
As a user, I want to add expense button.
Uh-huh.
That will take me to that page where I can add my expense.
Yes. You can say button. All right. All right. If you don't want to say button and you want to be very generic, because what if it's not a button? What if it's a link?
The feature.
Yeah. But what is this doing? What's the point of this? Isn't it giving you a dashboard route to the add expense page? So you could say, as an external user, I want to be able to, or I want an option or a widget that would give me a shortcut. See, I didn't say so that, right? You don't have to use the word so that, as long as you use other words to explain what was the purpose. Does that make sense? You don't have to literally use as a I want so that, but you have to understand there are three parts of it. So as a external user, I want an option to be navigated from dashboard page to the add expense page so that I have a faster access. Understand? Don't be afraid of putting it into your own words and go all in it. If you just think it from that perspective, you're a pioneer on this. And it's going to take a little bit of a practice for you because you have to keep on thinking in it, practicing writing in it, and then it will naturally come to you. And then when you're going to write that stuff, it's like everybody's going to be like, how did he come up with, or she came up with this? It's so beautiful. you know? Yeah.
Can you repeat the idea of this, like a sentence to compose this sentence?
Yeah. So this.
We describe the feature, right? Why we need.
Yeah, it's three parts. So in here, you have as a, and you fill in the blank, but this basically explains who the audience is. Okay. And 2, I want what will be created or built by the developer. And 3, so that this is where why will be why needed. You have to think of this 3 things. And then you fill in the blank. You don't have to use so that if you don't want to, as long as you explain why. You don't have to say I want. You can use some other phrases as long as you explain what would be created. And you can mix this up. You don't have to do it in this order. For example, let me think of something. I want a new sales, I want a sales invoice page as, I want a sales invoice page for an external user so that I'm able to create new invoices. That's fine too. So if you want to go away from this communication style, it's still okay as long as you have those 3 materials. Even, I'm sorry?
Even though like the external user is like poor, that's fine.
Yeah, that doesn't matter at all. But this is just to help you first think it this way. And then in some cases, you will see the so that doesn't make any sense in this sentence. And you can change it due to, or as a result, or because. You can say because, right? In some cases, it will be different, but don't hesitate to break away from this rule. Just make sure that you have those 3 things in there. Initially, practice with this because this helps. Okay? Questions about the feature element of behavior-driven development. The whole requirement can be written like this from the start. Developer can develop it based on this, and also you can create your automation on this. Okay? Now, you need a little more steps, right? A little more things that needs to happen for a developer to understand what's going on. You can't just tell them I want a add contact, a shortcut route from, as a external user, I want a shortcut access from dashboard to add expense page. Developer is asking, okay, tell me more. How do I do this? How do you want it? What's the design? Okay, there has to be a little more information. Then that also has to be in BDD style. And how? There comes in something called background and scenario. Let me go back in here. A background is optional. You can use or not. But this is where typically if it's used, you tell all the preconditions. Remember the preconditions of our regular test case in the Excel file? All that precondition is going to get packed up in this background section. And typically, It's who the user is. User login, and password information, and which site you need to go to. All of that is written right here. Not needed. Little too much. Okay, so most folks just skip that and go straight to scenario. Test cases are the same thing as scenarios. So far, you have seen test cases in Gherkin. In BDD, it's called scenarios. Okay? What is Gherkin? This is Gherkin actually. Okay? That's Gherkin. Gherkin is the BDD way of writing the test case. Right? How are we gonna do that? Well, we don't have columns anymore. We don't have Excel files. There is no step number 1, 2, 3, 4, precondition. What was that next one? Actions, user actions, steps, actual results, expected results. Okay, let's write down and see how this kind of work out the same way. So we had step numbers, yes, before.
ID number.
So ID number. We had the test case number, ID number, and then we had what?
Precondition.
Just preconditions, yeah.
Then
Steps.
expected results.
Steps are the steps descriptions, right? So these are the descriptions of what the user is going to be doing. And then
Actual result.
expected results. And then actual results, and then status. Either you said pass or fail. All of these can be boiled down to something much simpler, where we have this precondition. Gherkin is basically, you need to understand 3 words: given, when, then, and the word and. Okay, so how this precondition in your login test case for this website, what would be your precondition?
One credential.
Go to the browser.
Open browser.
Open browser, yeah, those are preconditions too, but you have username and password as your precondition, that the user must have valid username, which you then give that information in your test case, don't you? Because if you don't write that in your test case, a manual tester don't know what to use. So if it's an internal user, you give in the precondition column, you give that manual tester which username and password to use to test this. So that's what goes into precondition. Same thing in here. For precondition goes under this given statement. So given is an equivalent to precondition, or let me write this here. In Gherkin, it's you drop it under given.
Or background.
Or you take this entire thing and put it under background. Yeah, good catch. Okay? Now look at this. These steps, aren't they actions technically?
Yes.
if I had a step here, who can tell me what step I might have for login? Step 1, user, enter username. Step 2, enter password. Step 3, click on sign in button. Aren't these actions? Somebody is doing something, and you saw we created methods to do those things, correct? All these actions or steps will fall under when. So given a valid user with user ID techfilesdemo@gmail.com and a valid password abc123, so far so good. We would write it like this. Instead of writing test case, that's for this style, and then you had a test case number. Old way. BDD way. You have given a valid user with username techfiles@gmail.com and password abc123. That's your given precondition. And all these steps right here of enter username, enter password, enter username, enter password, click on login. These are steps. In Gherkin, you don't specify every single one. You just do one big one. What would that be?
Like when valid user
Sign in, or when user logs in. Okay. So when a user logs in, that's gonna do all of that. So you don't take all these actions, extra steps, you put it into one. You don't have too many. So it would just be when user logs in, that's it. With me so far? All your methods are gonna go under this. Enter username, enter password, click on submit button. All of that is gonna be under this. Going back to the old way, what was the expected results when we did these things?
there should be navigation to dashboard page.
So after you've done all these days, users should be able to log in or be on dashboard page. That's gonna be your then statement for Gherkin. Then dashboard page should display. This should is the keyword. Every time you have a then statement, you should have a should statement, should word. Because given a valid user, that's gonna have the code for this username and password, you don't even need that. That's it, guys. This is it. It's, and if you need an and, okay, I'll get to it. So anybody can understand this. This is what they're gonna be seeing. Nobody's gonna see the code. Code is gonna be linked to these statements. Okay. Whatever code needed to execute this when user logs in, It's going to be behind that. So your executives are going to be seeing these steps, these things. And you can have more. It's not going to be 3 lines for all scenarios. Some scenarios 3 lines, others maybe 10 lines. Yes. You. And if you're lucky, a business analyst is going to do that.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
The one who want to follow this project. So.
Yes.
Okay.
Then this whole thing, this gherkin plus this feature statement, all of this should be in that ticket. Ideally, the ticket should look like this, like that. Okay, where you have given a feature. He may not write feature login, but this paragraph needs to be there. As a user, I want a login page so that my credentials can be validated before my into my personal account. Log me into my personal account. He may not have the background, but he needs to have these. Given a user, and a user had valid credentials, this is another way of doing it. You don't have to have this statement. With that given a user, you can have all your code in that statement. When user goes to text file site, see, this is also broken down even farther. Not needed, but if you want to do it that way. If the developer needs more information, you can provide him this way. Okay. For example, what if I am writing another scenario? Let me just wrap this up. Instead of writing test case, it's called scenario. And just like we had test case names in the old way, it's not any different. You probably would have said, what is this? Still doing login. How would you write in old ways test case?
How did you just be able to log in?
Okay, it's the same thing. Then the users should be able to log in. That will be the same. Now it's not test case name, it's called scenario. Okay, this is what you're going to be in your code. If BA wrote it beautifully, you should be able to just copy BA's gherkin and paste it and automate that.
So, if B gives this scenario, then we'll be okay. Otherwise, we develop this and we will give to the developers.
You don't want to push on them. If the reason BA is not writing because developers are not pushing him and they have built a way of communication, and I tried to bring this into their realm and they didn't like me.
Okay.
Because I was being pushy. And so, yes. Question? No.
Yeah.
Right.
I heard that nowadays the company doesn't have like any document at all.
Yeah. Small companies won't have any documents. They got this feature, they want it now. Go build it. How are you gonna do it? Do it. Talk together. That's agile though. Yeah. Instead of waterfall, hey, I'm done with this, then I'll talk to the QAs. Or I don't talk to QAs, I'm done with just leave it to the QAs to test it, I'm doing something else. No, it's interacting. You are gonna be interacting with the developer. As he's working, he might call you and say, hey, come on over to my desk. And you will sit with him and he's showing you what she's working on and you're asking questions. So what do you want me to test on this? How should I test on this? And he may say, this one, if it shows up or not, I don't care. It's not me. But this is what they want to check. So you're thinking, okay, I need to put an automation to check this part. Understand? And you talk to him back and forth. He's developing a little piece, you test it, give him feedback. And then you go as a team and deploy the product. Okay? Let me get back to this. A lot of information. It's tough to wrap up in a nice, beautiful way. But Did you get the gist of what scenario is? What gherkin is so far? I will give you one more, then I'm going to give you a break. You come back and you develop one. I don't want everybody to develop the same scenario. So this time I'm going to tell you which features you want to develop. And then you write that, and one of those will automate in Cucumber. So let's take a look at it from a fresh perspective. If I log in, I go to Utilities, Email Message. Clear all data. View. This view feature, before it wasn't there. They only had this data in the table. Now executives are saying, hey, why don't you provide a little more information on these emails that we receive? I'm making this up, but this is what happens. So developers like, okay, we can add a view button, and we want to display this message in here, which is going to be coming from database, going to pull the data. So there's API involved. Lot of things other than just putting a button there. A lot more work goes in. So for this, here's how I would write Gherkin. Ideally, you want to be very specific. So let's start with the feature first. As an external user, I want a view button so that I am able to see the email details. Done. Don't think too much in this. Now, background, don't worry about it. Scenario. This is your testable scenario, or the developers needs this. So view button should display email details. With me so far? Okay. What do you start with? Given a valid user. Username, password is going to be provided in that given statement. First thing, you gotta navigate through. Okay. Now imagine this given user, you can put all the code in here so that the user is already logged in. You don't want to go back and forth and logging in anymore. That means you don't have to mess with login. When you write this statement, somebody already wrote code to log you in. You're already logged in. You're on dashboard. Dashboard has been validated with that statement as well. You just do your own automation. However, you need one thing. You need to get to this page. So typically you will see something like this. And this you have to add. When user navigates, they use the word navigate. If you want to click on the button, click on the side navigation button and go there, that's navigation. But if you just go through the URL, meaning if you take this URL, say driver.get, and you just type that URL, it's going to take you there as well. In that case, you would say user goes to. Okay? Goes, you know, you're going to say driver.get with the URL. And if you say navigate, user navigates to utility space. then you know you're clicking on the site navigation buttons to get to this page. Okay. What happens if I need one more action? When is that action? And I need one more action. Should I use when or then? If
No.
you know what, I didn't finish this part here. This right here, right? See that expected results? That's the then. That's that then statement. This is nothing but validation. Okay, so you got these three things: given, when, and then. That's it. And you can repeat. So we're here when user navigates to utilities page. I also want to say clicks on view button. How would I say it? Would it be when user clicks on or then user clicks on? Hmm? When? if me clicking on this button is that validation or an action? So always think of two things: action versus validation. Okay, so action versus validation. For action you use when, and for validation you use then. So is clicking on this button an action or validation? Action. If it's an action, what am I going to use? When?
When user navigates.
When user views email details. I'll tell you why I wrote it like this in a second. There's this rabbit hole goes deeper. So after I click on it, it shows me details. What do you need to validate here now? No actions needed here. We're going to validate. What do you want to validate?
Information. The detail, any of detail.
The email is
Okay, so a couple of things you can validate here. You can probably validate, yeah. But in here, you are going to say then email details should display. Okay.
can we use when
You nice catch. It doesn't sound nice, right? Given when user navigates to utilities page, when user why can't we change that to something more sound nice? And if you have a when and you need to put another when right after it, just write and. Yes.
can we use both, like when user navigates to the user page and when user
Can use both. That will cause system failure. Syntax failure. Code is not going to be mapping properly. You can use and after the given. If you have the need to have another given, instead of doing that, you could say, for example, given a valid user, given he has username and password, I'm just throwing it. You're probably never going to use that. In that case, it is okay for you to write and. This and Cucumber will know that it relates to this given. You are still doing that given thing. Make sense? But I don't need that. Again, this and right here, Cucumber knows this and comes from this when. So this when and this and, they are all actions. If you have another validation, let's say then email details should display, back to email button should display. And say, then back to emails button should display. Again, if you have two thens, change that to an and. Sounds much nicer. But Cucumber still knows that and relates to this then.
Keyword.
Yeah. After your class, I have a student from my previous batch. He got a job and he migrated into this framework, and he has this Cucumber, and his Cucumber is like all messed up with like he has given right here and given right here, and his test case is failing, and I'm going to be fixing that for him. Somebody wrote rubbish gherkin, and if he could fix all this, I mean, he's going to be the king in that company. So you are going in with this knowledge. A lot of people, they know how to code, and they're probably implementing this and don't even have a clue and logic behind this. Okay, so this much, I mean, just amazing if you can change things to this. Okay. Any questions about this gherkin? Because you're gonna get a task after break to develop your own. Mm-hmm.
When you're calling it, my question is we're gonna use the app a valid user as the title of the page.
Hey, louder.
Are we gonna use a valid user as the title of the page called connected together? This is what confuses people. The calling connection.
I have all that answers today, but I can't like in one word answer it. I have to show it to you. So I will show you everything. This is just the concept. I want you to get comfortable with gherkin, and then I'll show you the technical piece behind it and how this statement is going to map to the code. Okay, so let's take a break and come back, and I'll have some instructions. 10 minutes, guys, please.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Your last class, the notes were awesome, better than the spring 2019. And your BDD class is better than the spring 19. This class. Yeah.
This is better?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I just watched my, you're not gonna believe it. I watched my video this morning. That's what caused me late. And
don't you think it's better?
I forgot. And
Don't you think it's better?
and I was,
This one is more detailed.
no, I was
I
like,
think we're in here, that's why we put more.
probably. But each time I do this, I cannot do it the same. It doesn't come out same. I wish I could do it like exactly how I did last season. But no, like, see what I'm talking about? It's not in the video. I watched it this morning
Yeah.
when I came here. It's not.
It's like more piece of details coming out. So like something else.
Yeah, some things extra came out, but also scares me whether I'm gonna be able to finish it.
Yeah.
It's already 11, so we'll see.
Yeah, they were asking about the cucumber logic. And you, in the video, you didn't really.
Did you notice that there were some errors and I wasn't able to run it?
Yes.
So it could happen again. That's Eclipse thing. IntelliJ is far better
But
with
it's
BDD.
easier. IntelliJ look easier, look nicer. I have seen
You
it
seen it?
before, yeah, in YouTube. So if you use it, it'll be fine.
Why is like so? Is it because of IntelliJ has different coding and
No, not different coding, but it's look nicer. I saw it one in YouTube and they colored it all and whatever. You just click and they're gonna give you all the options. Like here and Eclipse, you're begging for it. Like sometimes it's not showing up.
Oh, I see.
And there, like it's I don't know. It's way nicer.
I might be able to give you a demo. I don't have a curriculum. Upgrade. But if I have time, one day I'll walk you over IntelliJ and show you what are some of the differences in
Yeah, that's because now they're using it.
Yeah, they
Right?
are.
most of them.
Yeah.
Most of the interviews they were talking about .NET and
What is .NET?
.NET is another language, and you don't have to say that you know it. But you can say you worked in an environment where developers use .NET. You don't do codes, but your environment, others worked
Yeah.
on code which you tested. You're a tester. You don't need to know codes.
C#.
This is the UI. I did make it black, and you can have it white. But here's the most beautiful thing. See this terminal? I could write Git right here.
Really?
Yeah, it's an Eclipse
Oh, so
too. It's an Eclipse. but
It's
you
an
gotta-
Eclipse too?
Yeah, you gotta find it.
Where?
In Eclipse, yeah, it's there.
Is there? Show me.
Can I show you my computer?
Yours is gonna be Mac.
Yeah, that's why.
You show me in mine,
Okay.
because it could be different.
Let me come to the other
Yeah.
side. Okay, so we're gonna.
That was take a lot of.
So they sorry. I think you go down here. I just gotta move it up. Okay, I'll just give an example here. Somewhere here, I know I found it. Hey, can I bring it in
Yeah,
mine?
yeah. What does it say? Does it say? It says terminal.
I was trying to disconnect. I was trying to disconnect this. I was trying to disconnect with the Git URL, and then I found it. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I don't use it regularly, but I use it.
It's possible. It may have added. Sure. Which menu did you go to?
I went to search. No, I went to navigate.
I don't know how you swipe it, but
That's weird. I don't have that option.
Yes. I went to navigate and then show.
or maybe you just slide it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's
Navigate
some
and
other
then
way.
show.
Not sure.
And then
Oh, wait.
Navigate and then show in.
No, I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll see what happens.
I don't have that option. See this? System properties.
So after you finish your resume, how did you send it? Adnan checks it and then what happens?
Yeah. I can Google it.
Okay, and then what happens? Oh, okay. Oh, so there's an edit.
Is that the you go to external
So it's not like I'm gonna be in the
manual? Oh, that's manual. I'm gonna fill my bottle. Be right back.
Yeah.
Did you have to write a lot of code when it was? Oh, conceptually. I think I might do that. Yeah.
Now you kind of solve keep doing it.
Oh yeah. I think we're doing it in here. We're doing it here, sure.
Delete invoices. You know what? Make it difficult for you. I think that ought to do it. There's 5 here. You guys are gonna team up, right? You get to choose one, so you have to tell me, are you gonna work independently?
Yeah.
Number 1? Okay, number 1 is taken. 2? All 3 of you? Okay.
Last one.
This one? Okay, so here's Anupa. Give me your names, guys. And give me your name. Yes? And your name was? Sarah? Sarah. And which one did you take? Second one?
Edit or
BDD.
Okay. Give me your name.
Mahi.
Mahi. And Salam? Salam? Okay. All right. 10 minutes.
That'd be better.
Online folks, you guys pick any. I can't really control who's doing what. And all of these are kind of sort of new, so just randomly pick any that you want. Go ahead and take 10 minutes.
So we are doing delete transaction.
How do you do it?
Where's that? So it's right here.
There's that example on the top. Pausing the video. Forgot to record. Recording now. That's okay. We missed a couple of examples. Sorry, folks.
So we have feature view transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Say external user, I want to navigate the transaction so that I am able to view. So scenario is view transaction to display transaction details
Mm-hmm.
given a valid user
Mm-hmm.
when user navigates to transaction
Mm-hmm.
and user navigates to view transaction, then transaction details should display.
Did you? And user navigates. Okay. You don't want to use navigates here. You can just say user views transaction. We can put an S way. I know you didn't want to say click on. Yeah. Didn't want to use the word click because what if it's not click? Somebody needs to view. Who's that? I can still hear. Okay. Still, let me mute you myself.
Yeah.
Where are you? Never mind. Okay. Where is the sound coming? Can you turn off the?
It's not working here. It's not working.
I guess that will do. But that interesting. You can turn off the sound.
Turn on the audio.
I sound so horrible on the other end. So user views transactions, then transaction details should display. Very good job.
But then the view transaction is, you have to click on it because you go to there.
But that click implementation, you don't want to write it here.
Yes, that's why I'm trying to, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fine to say views. Oh,
Yes. Tomorrow it could be views button. Next day it could be a different kind of button to view. What if it's an arrow and then it takes you to the view of it? We don't want to mess around with this. You write it in a vague way. Then you are a winner. Okay? All right. Next, your team, Mahi.
Mm-hmm.
So, are you logged in?
Yeah, I'm on. Yeah, there.
Your sound will be picked up by my computer, so no worries.
Okay.
Except when you're ready. Good.
And then I just navigate. Okay. So our feature is, as an external user, I want to delete a transaction so that it will not show in the website balance sheet. Our scenario is deleted transaction should not display. Given a valid user, when user navigates to transaction and navigates to view transaction, couldn't figure out a better way than to use click, but we did and click to manage and click to delete. Mm-hmm. Then deleted transaction should be invisible.
Okay. This, what you would want to do is, again, that is your method that's going to go ahead and change that. Put a line here and write
Right here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hit an enter, put a line space. You are basically deleting, but you have to go through manage and then delete.
Mhm.
So just write when user deletes a transaction, you are specifying what you're doing, but you didn't say how. You didn't say click on the delete button. You don't want to say that. Now, these two pieces of code, click on the manage, it's going to stay under this statement.
Mhm.
And then this is going to stay under this statement. What if tomorrow they don't want that manage button? They will put a, what if they want to put in a delete button directly there?
Mhm.
All you do is delete that, but you never have to change your gherkin.
Okay.
Okay, good job. Salam. And let me clean this up.
That makes
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahi, you have to delete that field.
Did you log in under your name?
No, it's on the door.
How? That one?
Yeah.
Okay, except when you're ready. Did it give you a share screen option? Look in the taskbar somewhere down in your screen. And then click on the screen and then click share. There you go. Okay. Which one are you doing?
Invoice.
Invoice what?
Edit.
Edit the invoice.
And as an external user, I want to edit invoices. And when edit.
This would be your feature statement. So go ahead and write the word feature here and copy paste this there. With a colon. And copy paste it there.
We always have a feature word.
Par file. We'll come to that in a second. Okay? Now you can delete this part right here. You don't need that. So you should only have given, when, then. So given a valid user, this is good.
And when edit notification is adding space, the display. And
This you need to split into two. So you have to break this into two. One, user navigates to add invoice page. So go ahead and make that correction. You guys actually did pick the most difficult one. I know. So, all right, let me handle this. Okay. Fill all info and click. See, again, you wanna use the word click, right? Click to add product or service. Then new product should display. Okay. Let's take a look at it. See how we're gonna do this. Functionality. Understand that. You got this one. Invoices. Edit invoices. This part. So the test case is going to require that you click here and you edit some information. Okay. And then you hit save again. So let's say if I put in $9.99, save invoices, validate this, and then go to invoices and then make sure that got changed. I don't know what I did. Edit. Oh, because quantity is 0. So put a 1. This total is going to become 9 after I save it. And go to invoices again. It didn't do it. Why? Possible.
Price.
Oh, price. This needs to be price right here. Sorry. Let's just make it $10 easy. 10. Okay, 1 and 10 should be 10. Save. Invoices. And there's the 10. So it's working. All right. Understand? Here's how we're going to write it. Scenario. Users should be able to edit invoices. Given a valid user, when user navigates to the invoices page or to invoices page, and here's the kicker. You are here. You can say click on edit button. But look at this. Isn't this all action? Click on edit button. Go in here, change this to $20. And then click on save and close. All actions. If you have back-to-back all actions, put it into one when statement. What can I say that will encapsulate all 3 actions?
When a user goes to edit and then
Don't want to say goes to, that can confuse with. We already navigated. Navigation right here, we already navigated here. If you say goes to, we're using URL. But what am I doing?
modify,
Editing.
editing, modify.
When a user edits a random invoice, if you want to do it that way, edits you, and so when user navigates to invoices page, and I didn't say user again because it doesn't flow well, so I took the user off, and edits a random invoice. This is gonna have all those methods. Click on edit button, change price, click, save, and close. Does that make sense? All of that method is going to be under this statement. Edits a random invoice. What? How? We don't care. We will never have to change this. Then, edited invoice should display. How? We'll talk about that later. How? That how could be click on invoices page, because you have to click there to get there. You could be clicking there, that's still under that part. And then do some assertions. You can do that there. Question? Huh? You didn't get to do one. Yours. Okay.
You make it short.
And over here, you all had a situation where what if you could break this up and do another one? You could say, look at this. If you want to validate that page, remember that success page comes up first? I'll show you. So if you edit, and I put in, oh, somebody just changed this. I put in quantity 2. Now it's 2 times 20 is going to be $40. If I hit save, first it gives you the success message right here that it has been done. 20 when it being 2,000. Okay, whatever that is, 4,000. And it gives you that. So you could actually have something like this. You could say, then confirmation screen or confirmation message should display. That's where you validate that. When user navigates back to invoices page, then edited invoice should display. You want to add more? And price should match the edited and last edited price should display. You can have more codes. Do you want to display yours? I know this is the most fun part of my class, but unfortunately we get nothing done. I don't get to go through the technology part. Now let us do that. So Anas, are you logged in?
Yeah. Last one.
This one?
Yeah.
Make presenter. And Salam, you all did get the most difficult one. Thank you for taking the tough one. All right, what do you have?
So the feature is as external user, I want to import that option so that I can do something. And given the validator when internet invoice page, then invoice page should be displayed and view button should be displayed. When user navigates to view invoice, then invoice details page should.
Okay, very nice. I would not use this navigate though. I like how you did. You went here, navigate to invoices page, and then invoices page should display. You kind of checked, made sure that page displays first. Then you stepped in. When you do step in and you have a then, view button, well, this is another one, another validation. You are doing whether the view button is displayed. This is also fine. You can use another N. But see how wonderfully she has a when here and then distinguish this with another when. Because she's going to do another action and then she's going to do another validation. So in here, you don't want to say navigate, but you are going there, right?
Yeah.
Did you need to though? If you said view button, it should take you to the view. Yeah, right here. Right there. So if you click on view, it shows you the view. That's it.
What here is it?
What?
So it's another page.
Yeah, and you don't need to navigate here anymore. You're already there. So you could say when user views invoice details should display that. Okay. Anybody else online want to share? Do y'all need a break before we start coding, or are you okay? Good? All right. Here comes the big part. First, you need to understand the architecture of BDD. Page object model, if you remember that. Double checking that I'm recording. We had, here's a website. Oops. Web application, web app, and your framework. This was your framework. Automation framework. From your framework, you had several classes. You had, what are some of those classes you had? You had, correct. One of the things, which class was directly talking to the page? Page classes. Because that's where you had the element library, all the page stuff was talking to the page. Page class talks to the page. So this was talking to the website, and that was the page classes, or page package dealt with that, right? Page classes, right? But we only had elements and methods in here. We were asking the page, which class was asking the page to get stuff or put stuff or click stuff? Test class. So we had a test class that was actually ordering things. So this was test class, and this class was ordering whatever needed, asking from the page class through methods. How? You probably had something like this in the test class. You would say login page dot get or click on submit login button. Okay. Does that ring a little bell?
Yes.
And that method you are calling here, but was being implemented here, where you had the driver, you had the return statement, or no, not return, just had driver.click. I'm not writing the whole thing, but you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you had login button dot click. So far so good. Everything we did, test class calling page class talking to the page and giving you that or doing that. That's this. There's this side navigation, go to. New account page, fill in the new account form. We're calling all these pages from here, and this is messy. So we're going to organize this. In BDD, they have another class. Sorry. You just have to handle another one. And this class is called feature file or feature class. Usually they don't call it feature file, they call it, sorry, feature class, they say feature file. In feature file, you're gonna see this gherkin. So instead of saying login page dot click on login button, it's still gonna be in the test class, but you're gonna have a feature file says given user logs in, logged. That's it. So feature file is now asking test class. Test class is asking page class. Page class is going to the website and doing this. That's BDD. Question?
So we still run test.
There's gonna be Java in test class and page class. There's gonna be only gherkin in feature file. You have to write the statement gherkin first, then go to this page, write the method, and place the method implementation in the page class, and then let it do it for you. So it's a lot of hands moving back and forth. Okay, it's kind of like you start here like that. You're gonna first start here, you got your statement, then you go to your test class, you write whatever you want to call that, and place the actual method right here. This is just gonna be method calling. This is where method implementation, meaning it's gonna have dot click, send text, send keys. Okay. Every once in a while, you may have to have some looping method here, like is data matching. Remember that method? You may have to have that there. If you have too many of those, too many classes using is data matching, you might want to take that is data matching, move it to a separate utilities class or something. Okay. Now, for every feature file to work, there is something called runner class. So we have something called runner. That means you're going to have a class. Every page is going to have a page class, test class, feature file, and a runner class. You don't have to do anything with the runner class. Runner class is just going to take this feature file and glue it with this test class. Understand? Code is same. You just copy paste runner class every time you create a feature file. No change. What you have done so far, really, you don't have to do anything different. You just have to write the feature file and encapsulate the code and connect this feature statement with these codes, whichever many you want. Just connect it. That's it. Understand? And I'll show you how to do that. So if you think this is too complicated and I'm teaching you something new, really not. But our things are a little more organized and they're now going to be thrown in separate rooms. You just have to manage those rooms and know what is where. And be smart enough to put the right thing in the right places. That's it. No new codes. Not going to teach you anything new. All right? Okay. We still have that utility cat class, remember? It's still going to be there. No change. That's there somewhere, but you don't have to worry about it. That's our browser is going to get opened up with that. So we're going to copy paste a lot of that stuff when we build it. So util, and you can add more to it, but at minimum, you must have these runner, feature, test, and page class. Whoever developed this BDD format in automation, they decided not to call this test class. They call it step definitions. Okay. So we're not going to call it test class anymore. It's going to be step definitions, but I hate writing this big name. So also I see a lot of people changing that to just write steps class instead. Steps class is going to have the same thing we have in test classes. We're just not going to call it test class anymore. Okay? Moving on. All right, let's build this thing. Let me close all this out. Don't follow me, because you won't be able to keep up with it. Save, change, clean up everything. All right. The very first thing you need to do when you automate in BDD, you need to install something called Natural. The Natural is the plugin that's going to make this file pretty fancy. This feature given when then it's going to become colorful. All of that information is, by the way, in this site. And I'm going to follow this so you can see if you have to do it at home, you can do this. Download plugin called Natural. Go to Help, Install New Software, and Add. So I go here, go to Help, Install New Software, and click on Add, and gives me this. And in here, I would copy paste this, Natural, and URL is right here. Take that, paste it in here. Notice it added a space there. I'm pretty finicky. I don't like that space. So take that off. Click on Add. And it's going to pull some things from that site. And you will see something like this. Natural Cucumber Editor, JBehave. You don't need JBehave. Cucumber is fine, but just take them all. Click here, hit Next. And then a couple more times, Next. And I accept. Finish. It may ask you install anyway. It's still doing its thing. If you can see it down here, 8%. When it's done, it's gonna ask you to restart your computer, hopefully, which would be a good thing if it does. While it's doing, why don't you do that? Yeah, go to your Eclipse. Since it's taking some time, shouldn't be taking some time. Here, FYI, here's the window will come up and say install anyway, and you choose install anyway. So you guys do that. Install anyway. That's okay if you don't want to. You don't have to.
We can have access to website.
Access?
We can see your website.
This? Yeah. You don't?
In our own.
Yeah, always.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody have access to this. Boy, it's taking some time. It's not supposed to take some time. This much time. Can any of you check on your platform? Oh, there you go. Restart now. So restarting. All right, guys. If you're trying to do that, stop, because I'm here now. It's back up and it's ready to go. So I'm just gonna go ahead and build the project. Next, build a Maven project with the following dependencies. Now, this is the least amount of dependencies that I could find for Cucumber. And this was a trial and error. I am not an expert in building a BDD framework, and BDD can get more complicated. This dependencies list in my company runs 3-4 pages. So this guy who built it added so many things to it to make it fancy. It's beyond my realm with only 1 year of experience. I still couldn't crack it. But I researched the web and could come up with certain set that works at minimum. And this is it. If you look carefully, you will see there is Selenium Java, JUnit, same thing that we had. There's a Cucumber with Java. There's a Cucumber JVM. Cucumber, a lot of Cucumber. Cucumber with JUnit, so we're going to be using JUnit. Cucumber reporting, that's going to give you some sort of report. And Gherkin. This Gherkin is going to read your Gherkin scenario and connect your code to different classes. So carefully copy this whole thing and place it in your notepad, and we're going to copy it from here. Go into your Eclipse. Let's start up a project same way. New project, nothing different. Maven, same old. Next, quick start option, next, and give it a name. BDD BDD CRM BDD tech files BDD tech files BDD. Okay, finish. Wait for it to show up. There it is. It's still processing. There you go. Who can tell me what's my next step? Should be memorized by now. Yes. Delete. Same thing. Copy the dependency. Copy it here. Here's the POM file. This file comes with JUnit. You can just kind of highlight that whole thing carefully, not taking anything else. And then if you just paste over it, it's going to delete this and paste over it. Control V will paste here. Alt Shift F.
Sometimes I get this error.
F O, and see that? That's not good.
I did put it in notepad.
Yeah, I did the same thing. Okay, let me just revert. Did I change something here?
What's happened with me twice? I have to close it and open it.
Closing meaning just delete the whole thing? Don't save? Now it's not happy. I can't resolve this. If this happens, you delete. Delete the project. Start
The
over.
process?
Yeah. Start over. Yeah, that's the beauty of this. What did we name it? Tech Files BDD. It could not delete it completely, so it's telling me a POM file already exists for that. So we're unfortunately gonna have to change the name. So BDD Tech Files. And finish. I may have to type the whole thing or go to Maven repository and bring all that. That will be tedious work.
I tried. It happened the first time.
Yeah.
Then I just delete the dependency, the word, and rewrite it again and forth. It happened like 3 times and it worked after the third trial.
All right. Here's POM file. Can I take one at a time? Here's the dependency. And that. Okay. Let's do it one at a time. Here's the second one. Okay. All right. So far, so good. And saving, making sure no errors. FO. That's why if they ask you to build a project for your company and ask you how long is it going to take you, you should say it could take between 2 to 6 months. Yeah. The project, yeah, the framework. 2 to 6 months.
You're all alone?
You won't be. Enrico will help you. Here's the pretty close to the end. So far, no complaints. Last one. I hope. Yeah, Control V. F O. Error?
Yeah. Did you save this?
Yeah. Gherkin.
We copied it. Right.
Let me take this Gherkin from MVN repository. FO. Now the error doesn't want to go away at all. And I promise I didn't have this issue in my last few sessions. Not this one. There was another issue with that, but this is InfoCukes IO Cucumber. Maybe I can take this guy. Version 8.
The last one,
And that worked? Okay, I'll try that. I'll try anything.
That was already there for automated process. Right there.
Which one?
That's dependency.
This?
The above that.
This one? So just do that again?
That was already there.
And gone.
Oh, what did you do?
I don't know.
It might be, you see under the right corner down, still think of what it
Right corner here.
is. Yeah, maybe you should wait.
Wait for possible. It's already started to pull things in here. It's still giving me an error right there. But we can go ahead and build the project right now.
Driver folder.
Driver folder, yeah. You can build the project before you get the driver folder too. But we can also go ahead and do that. Control C here. Paste. It won't let me do anything, looks like. Yeah, it's a lot of dependencies and there's a lot of files and codes it's pulling from the website, and it's just kind of slowing it down. Also, it depends on the internet speed, and I don't know how good is TechFile's wireless, so it won't let me touch it. Take 5 minutes break if you need to at this time. While you guys are on the break, I am going to just, since it did it, I'm just gonna build a project. Recording this still. Run as Maven build, clean install, and run. And after you do that, you want to see build success, and that did that. Want to double check Maven dependencies, and all the dependencies are there. So at this point, I'm going to pause the video, resume after the break. Alright guys, getting started here. All I did while you were at break, it downloaded everything it needed. The Maven dependencies are here. I went ahead and did a right click, run as Maven build, and typed in clean and install and run just like we usually do. And we got a build success and made sure the Maven dependencies all are here. Okay, that's all I did. So it looks like the project shell is ready to go. And now my next step, I didn't have to do that, that's okay. We added the Chrome driver already. And here's what we're gonna do in the foldering scheme. We have two folders. One is main and the other is test. You probably remember that in the main folder, we had two packages. We had a page package and we had utility package. These things that we talked about, this page class, all page classes will be in the page package, and we had a utility package in there. Now, for BDD, we're going to leave it the same. You will still have page and utility. But under the test package, you're going to have three things now. You're going to have the feature file. You're going to have the runner class. You're also going to have, remember the test class? What do we call the test class now? Steps class. So that test class is now going to be steps class. So we only added two new things. Features and runners. You will see how easy these two are. You don't have to add any extra code. You just kind of copy the codes for this runner class. You must have that. Runner classes do what? If you can remember from my diagram. Glue what? Glue steps class to the feature file. That's it. Okay, let's do it. So we're in here in our project. We close this out. Home success. And right click, new package. We're going to have page package. We're going to have utility package. In here, we're going to have a package called steps. This is going to replace our test package. Okay. And we're going to add two more. One is called
Features.
And the other is called runners. Are we good here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What next?
Did we build?
Yeah, we built it while you were in break. Create a feature file called login.feature. Now we're going to add a feature. So everything starts with that feature where your scenario is. And today we're going to do two automation. One, a valid user. Automate two things. One, valid user should be able to log in, and we are also going to do invalid should not be able to log in. Now you guys are talking because you already watched my video, so that's another negative thing. You're like, his last video was better than this one. So with that in mind, let's see how we can automate this thing. Here's our feature file. Right click, go to new, and click on file, and you give it a name. Because we're going to be testing login page, you're going to name it login, and then you have to say dot feature. Okay. Now Java style is everything has to be lowercase for feature. For others, you use Pascal case where you have the capital L. But just for the feature file, everything lowercase. And if you have multiple words, you use what they call it snake case. If I say add contact feature, instead of saying A capital, and then we wrote it like this, contact, right? You're not going to do that. Instead, lowercase, add, and underscore, looks like a snake, kind of goes like this, add contact dot feature. Okay, that's just Java standard. We only have one word, so we're just going to write it like login dot feature and save that. Because you added dot feature, this file will be a special file with this green cucumber sign on it. You see that? It's like if you slice a cucumber, how does the interior looks like? Kind of looks like that.
The feature is a package in a folder. Features,
Features is a packet.
not a folder.
Only this is a folder.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is a packet. You have 3 packets here. It's not supposed to be in a folder because it has some connections between these guys. And these Java packets have some ways to connect things. Okay. Right? Now that you have natural plugged in, if I type in the word with a capital F and put a colon, it changes color. It knows what it is, what you're trying to do. That whatever you write in that feature, it's going to display on the report. Ours, you can first say login page. And in here, typically this is how I do it. As a user, I want a login page so that only authentic users can have access. Okay. Questions so far? This is where your scenario is going to go. So if I write scenario and hit colon, it lights up, meaning it's understanding you're doing something. And in here, scenario would be valid users should be able to log in. Okay? Let's do this. Given, see how I wrote given and then that got changed? If you don't put capital G, it's not going to work. Given a valid user. So here's your test case, guys. You wrote this from a developer. What do? First thing, you come to the feature file. And I'm giving you in that sequence so that you know what's going on. You come to the feature file, you write this. Given a valid user, because this is a login page test, we're going to test every single thing. Okay? So this is going to be more detailed oriented. When user goes to TechFile's site, see, I'm breaking down those steps. Then TechFile's site should display. User goes to. Okay. That means when I go to this site, driver.get, this page should display. I'll show you how to title validate this one with that. And once I'm done with this, then I'm going to do one by one and then submit. When user provides valid credentials, see, I didn't say username and password. Just by saying credentials is enough. And provides, I didn't say enter. What if it's something else next time? You want to stay vague. You could say when user logs in with. Is it just 1G or 2G? I can't. Okay. For some reason, I feel like it's 2. When user logs in with valid credentials, then what to expect? Dashboard page should be displayed. Can I also say and username should match? How? In here, when I go in here and sign in, I'm checking dashboard shows, and if I click here and go to edit profile, that should give me tech files demo, the username that I used to go in. If somebody else's username shows up here, fail or bug. Okay. Any questions about this gherkin?
No, that's not it.
Hmm?
No, that's
Like what? No dots, nothing. But if you do put a dot, that will go into your other statement mapping. You'll see it in a second. And you have to stay accurate with that. Okay. All right. Now, what happens when you do this? This is not mapping to anything right now. You gotta have a steps class, a runner class. You have to have a page class to talk to the page, all of that. You also need utilities to start up, open your browser, right? So let's copy some of those things first because we don't have it in our framework. Let's go in here and just take this utility browser and paste it in here. And we have the browser factory. Login page, we should have something in here. Let's not recreate it. We have this login page. Copy that and go in here and paste it. There's our login page. Okay. We also have dashboard page we may need. I don't see it in here. We may have to copy from somewhere else. We'll do that later. But let's talk about steps class. We need a steps class here. Right click, new, create a class. I'm not going to copy this from another project because this is going to be different, guys. So you just say login what? Steps. No more test. Login steps. And then say OK. And you get this blank and leave it like that. I'll show you a wonderful way of bringing all this in here automatically. What else? We got the login steps. We have the page. We have the utility. We need a runner class. We need a runner class to glue this page. Never mind. So the steps class and this feature file needs to be glued. So we're going to add a class into this runner that's going to attach these two together. And so your method in here will get mapped to this statements right here. How? Just copy this from here. There is a code that I will explain, and I had issues with this, so we'll see. First, paste this into create a Java class in the runner folder called login runners. So let's do that. Go step by step. So I go to this runner folder, runner package, right click, new class, and call it login runner. Enter. And there's that login runner, and it opened up right here for you. You are not going to put any code inside this class. Okay, the code is going to go right on top of it, right here, between the package and the class. And this code is going to just say what to connect with what. So first paste this before the class signature. So I'm going to copy this here from here. And go to Word, paste it, copy from here. I've also found out recently that this quotation mark needs to be deleted, retyped. Sometimes that causes error. So I'm just going to delete that, retype. Cucumber is very finicky, but once you get it up and going, it's beautiful. So I retyped that. That should be fine. Now take this, go into your project, and paste it right above it. And it's going to ask for some dependencies. Hovering over doesn't always bring you those imports for some reason. So I have these imports already in here. You have to force import a few things. So if you just take these 3 lines, copy that, bring it in here, and copy from here. That, go in here and paste it, and save. No errors. Nice. Control Shift F-O to align few things, and there we have it. 2 things you do need to change here. One thing, this where it says features, you have to specify which feature file to glue it to. So what you need to do is right click on your feature file you want to glue to, go to properties, same as Chrome driver, remember that? And you take this from colon, go all the way to this dot features, copy that. I'm going to show you how to do this one too, but I want to start with this and make sure the project works first. And go in here and paste that there. And this glue, it's telling you don't have to change anything. It's going to take anything that you have in your steps class, meaning this steps package. That means as long as this steps word matches this, he's going to go through every single one of these classes and match it. You don't have to specify exactly which class. But if your word right here is step definition and yours over here is steps, it's not going to understand what you're talking about. If this is step and this is steps, it's not going to know what you're talking about. So you have to match that and that. So this feature file statements are going to go mapped to these step classes, any step class, doesn't matter where. And they can kind of spread out. Why? Because this feature file, you could be talking to many step classes. Make sense? We would be talking to login page and dashboard. So we would be talking to login steps class and dashboard steps class. So we don't want to connect it to one step class, but all step classes. Understand? That's what it's doing. Now, let's get out of this. We're almost done, but we don't have these method implementations here. What are we going to do? How are you going to connect them? What you do at this point is you come to this runner class and you right click and go to run as, and I don't have JUnit. It's not displaying the way I want to. There should be a JUnit library. Let's run this in JUnit test. See what happens. Okay, it's fine. It's still working. If it doesn't work, you need to make sure that you have JUnit library here. And to do that, sometimes if you go into this runner class and delete these imports, errors will come up. Resolve those errors, put this back in again, and it will bring it over. But probably it's not needed. Now, as soon as I ran, watch what happened. It's telling me, here's the feature. Here's the scenario I ran. One scenario, 6 steps, meaning here are the steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Undefined, meaning we don't have any code for it. And it's telling you, you can actually put code for it this way. You can implement missing steps. All steps are missing. It doesn't have anything, not connected to anything. Saying you can add this into your steps classes and add code into it. So what you do is you copy this. Copy this whole thing. This is your method stub. Copy. You go to your login steps class. It's empty, and you paste it in here. Okay. Looks very complicated, but it's not. I'll simplify this for you. First, what you do is this given right here. See this? A valid user. Isn't that what I wrote right here? Java just added a underscore because method name cannot have spaces in them. But these underscores will be taken out when they report it. Cucumber knows, take them out and display this as a human readable way. Make sense? This part is the glue part of the Cucumber. Meaning if you have this @ given and then in the bracket with some symbols, you don't have to worry about what these symbols do. But just having this line, it will connect this code, a valid user, to this method stuff, public void a valid user. Then you're asking, what is all this gibberish stuff? You actually don't need. You can delete that and delete that. Hover over given, import given. Okay. Same thing for all. Hover over when, import when. Look at this. User goes to text file site. That's what we had in here. User goes to text file site. Delete this, don't need it. Delete that, don't need it. Hover over then, import. Clean up, clean up. Clean up, clean that up, clean that. Busy work, basically.
So we always copy this.
It will be so much easier unless you have to write this. And there could be a mistake on the symbol that you use. If you mess up the symbol, it's not going to talk to one another. So I highly recommend that you do that first. Now you have your grounds. This is where your methods are going to go. Who you want to call, what you want to do to it. all of it, you encapsulate where it relates. It will be so easy for you to debug. If the failure happened here, for this step, user goes to take file side, you know you only need to eyeball here. You don't have to look at here. You don't have to look at here. Okay? Much easier. Now, let's see if it worked. If it worked, if I press the control key and hover over, it will turn blue. Look at this. Turns blue. Meaning I can click on it, it will take me to that. Okay? And if I do Alt back, it will take me back. Click on this, takes me to the method. Alt back takes me back. Any questions about how to do this part? This is the only part that is new. Everything else now I'm going to show you is the same thing that we have done.
How do we make this blue?
Control, you would press and hold control key and hover your cursor over. And yeah, you have to press and hold the control key and hover over, and press and hold the control key and hover over and click on it to get to that. As a matter of fact, everything. If I had a method here and I wanted to go deep inside that method, I would press the control key and click on it too. And Alt back to come back. You need to do this first couple of weeks of your job, new job. You need to trace all those methods to see how far deep it goes and what is written there. You need to understand that. It's like walking in this building and checking every single room. What's in that kitchen? You need to know that. They ask you, go get me a cup of coffee. You need to know where the coffee machine is. This is how you're going to go there. This is your elevator. Control click is your elevator to take you there. Understand? Okay, very important. Now, let's implement this. Given a valid user, all I need string username. Yes? And of course, password. Alignment will come with Control Shift F. Password ABC 123. If I do Control Shift F, Alt back. It will take you your cursor's back point. Alt back. Now Alt forward, it's going to take me back to that method. Right there. All right. Of course, I want this to be called somewhere else. I want this to be used somewhere else. Will I be able to use this in this method?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not a global.
It's not global. It's local. So go ahead and just create a string username global here, and you can just put nothing. And string password, and you can put nothing in here. And in here, you don't need that. And make sure these connect to this. So over here, you're assigning the true value given a valid user. Do you see with the given an invalid user, I'm gonna have another one of this like this for the next test case. Given an invalid and you have to change these two things. Invalid user. Or over here I'm gonna have okay, but I'm just gonna take it out right now. Don't want to mess up. With me so far here? When user goes to take file site, this is where I need the browser to open up and go to the site. What do I need to do? This is going back. We've done this before.
Util package. Util package.
Util package, yes. Browser factory, we gotta get it up and going. How do I do that? Browser factory dot start browser. But there was something we were storing this to driver, and didn't we declare the driver as global? So that's what you have to do. Web driver, just declare the driver here and import. You can have all of this together. In here, driver equals. There. That's it. That's gonna get the browser started. Did we go to TechFile site with that browser factory as well? If I don't know, you can control click on it. So if I control and click on start browser, it will take me to that code. And look, we already did go to that site. So we don't need to say another driver.get over here. Okay. So we are so far so good with this code. Now, TechFile's site should display. How we're gonna do this is up to you. Let's just see if it works first. So how do we run this? You go to feature file, runner class, and you go to run as and JUnit, and it's gonna run it for you. If everything goes well, browser will open. Yeah. Open up. Goes here, that's it. It doesn't do anything else. Test said pass, report over here, still happy. Nothing, you didn't fail anything. You have the method stuff, so no complaints there either. But methods have nothing in it. Now, let's do this. This page, the login page, does have. This class is gonna go over a little bit more. But if you have to go, you can and watch the video if you want to. Okay, so no problem. This page has something unique called title. If you do /title, it will take you to that title tag. All pages have a title. And you can validate whether this title shows up. Okay? So if I copy the actual title, this is what it's supposed to be. This is also expected title in a way. Okay? So right now, I'm just gonna store it in a string. String expected title equals, in quote, I paste that. Validation. Remember this then statement? We are gonna validate, but you may need to store some things and do some things, but definitely enough. You may even have to click a button, but your focus is on validation. What am I validating? I want to validate that this shows up and this matches. So here's my expected title I already know before, and you want an actual title is when the driver goes there. An actual title, who do you want to ask? You gotta ask some page. Page class, login page class. Yes. Do I have access to the login page class? Page factory. So yes. So before this line, I need access to login page. So you do login page equals page factory dot init elements, and in here you pass the driver and good dot class. Now you have access. Once you have the access, you can start calling it right here. Login page dot. Look, some already you don't have to create. Selenium gives you some. One of the beauty is that get page title. It will get the title for you. Also, there's one called get current URL. Get, it's not showing up in here, but it does that too.
Yeah, this is a method we get page title.
We did?
Yes. Yeah, we have.
Let me see. You are right. Yeah, we did create
That's
this.
how we got. We have method that's how.
Yeah, you're right. What if you wanted page URL, current URL? You could also say return that string, get current URL, and you could return driver dot get current URL. Okay, and that will return the current URL of that page, but we don't need it right now. Let's go back to our method. This gives us the current title. Now, who can tell me what I'm going to do? Assert dot what? You could also pick assert. Sure. Assert equals. You could say assert contains. Contains is a little less strict than equals. Let me just do assert contains. See if there's one. There is none. So JUnit doesn't have it, but Hamcrest does. Research that if you want. Assert equal, and carefully choose something. First, we want to compare expected with actual. So let's see, and these are both string, aren't they? Look at the string right here. So this is Boolean expected, no. Byte expected. How about this one? String expected, but it doesn't have a message option. So can we see if there's a message option and then gives me that? How about this one? String failure message. Expected what? Actual what? If they match, pass. If they fail, then display this message and then fail it. So let's take that. Here's the message. I'll talk about that line in a second. Titles did not match. Match, because we're comparing these two. Here's expected title. And here is actual title. Okay. JUnit is saying that now you don't have to write that assert anymore. So you can just do this. Hover over. They have been changing things, so it's becoming a pain in the neck. No. Okay, I'm gonna take that other one that doesn't have the message. I think they just changed a few things. String expected, string actual, and let's see if that doesn't have an issue. Still actual. Delete that. Still shows deprecated. What this is saying, Net suppress warning deprecation. Let me see if I do that. Nothing happens. Last season, I just took this off and it was working just fine. I don't want to create my own method, but I may have to. It's not throwing any error, but it might just run just fine, okay? So we're gonna run this and see if it works. Here's the expected title, here's actual title, it's gonna be compared, and if they don't match, fail. Let's pass it first with the right ones. So runner class, login runner, run as JUnit test. I never did a login, but we came up to here and it has done its testing. Here are the JUnit steps. So far, this step took 7 seconds, very little time. Tick by site should display. It didn't fail anything, did go over that. There's no code on there to fail it. So let's fail it. Passing is not giving us enough information. How do we fail it? How about we take this login off? Run as, I'm now getting brain dead after this. Okay, open up. Failed. Go up here. That X mark means it failed. This steps passed. In here, if you double click, if you look at the console, it will tell you why failed. Take a look at this. JUnit framework comparison failure. So it is still working. Something changed that I need to research out and change that. But we don't use JUnit, we use some other kinds of assert. Here's expected, this one, text files, no login right here. And see with this bracket, they're telling you there was something else there. But was, they found that login word there. And it didn't match, and that's why it failed it for you. Okay. There is another kind of report in here. More about that next weekend. We do have classes next weekend, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So I just can't cover all this information in one. But just gonna touch up this runner class right here. In this runner class, I added something called HTML.testOutput. That means I am telling the BDD framework to give me a report with the name test output and the file type HTML. So if you refresh, you go to your project, refresh, you'll be able to see something come up called test output. And if you open that up, over here, you're going to see something with an HTML.html. If you either double click on it or right click, double clicking, if that doesn't show up, right click and say open with and go to Chrome or any web browser, open that up and it's going to show up in here. Few things. One, here's your feature. If you have multiple test cases, this would be collapsed. You only have one, so all of that is displayed to you. Your scenario, these have certain colors to tell you what's going on. With this green meaning those steps passed. With the red meaning this step failed, and immediately below that, it will tell you why it failed. Isn't this better than how we had it before? Little more readable. Now, business analysts, they can read this. Executives can read this report. And if they open up, they may not be able to understand what's going on here, but at least they could read this, expected this, and was that. Blue means they were skipped. If your test fails here, it won't execute the other stuff, and that's what it means. Okay. I went past 113. I could go a little bit farther and implement these steps right here. To user logs in with valid credentials, and then dashboard page displayed, and username should match. All of that can be done in this same framework. All I have to do is add more code to it. Okay? It's been a long class for you guys, I know. I don't want to hold you up till 2 o'clock and do that. You have this project in here. And I have more code in there. If you go to session 10 in order to take notes, and if you scroll down, you will see project URL, and you can clone that into yours. You're done if you know how to do that, and if you want to stick around, I can spend a few more minutes to have you clone it on yours. Okay? So, a volunteer.
Can you just show us again how we get the test output?
So for test output, after you run it, you're going to run it from your runner class, login runner, and you right click and you go to run and JUnit test, and you let it run it. Once this has completed its steps, and it got failed out here, what you do is you close this JUnit window. Right click on the project, click refresh. If you don't click refresh, it may display a report from the last run, the previous run, not the last one from the previous. And then if you hit refresh, now this test output folder automatically generated. It's going to give you the latest report. You expand it out and go to index, right click, open with. This one comes up the fastest, but you don't like that. You want Chrome, you go to other. You check external, wait a few seconds, check Chrome, and then say open, and it's going to open up in here. This is the URL, folks, that your company is going to post from your server. So when your server runs these test cases, it automatically generates a URL. And this URL, it's going to be where all your test case data is displayed. You can email that, or you can also, through Jenkins, you can look at your report, and there's a link there. This is going to take you there. I'll show you more on that on the last class from Jenkins. Jenkins, you won't see this, but Jenkins is going to have a link. A link text says report. And if you click on that link text, it's going to take you to this URL. And it's going to display this on the screen for you. As it is. For this project. Now, different projects have different reporting structure. But data shows up just like that. In our company, this guy took it a little bit farther. He took every single test case. See how I can collapse and expand? If I added another test case, Let me just do it really quickly. I'm going to copy paste, okay? I'm just going to copy this. I did not have any methods yet. Let's just call it invalid. So now I have two scenarios. Should not be able to log in, and I'm going to run this both. It's going to give me two reports.
Given invalid user.
So if we go to runner class, run this both. Both of them will fail because I have now modified things. Here's my first test case. Goes in, here's the second one. And that's done too. So both complete, closing them out. Both of them failed. Refresh. Let's test output, HTML, open with, other, external, Chrome, OK, collapse, collapse. There's your two test cases. First test case, fail. If this passed, this would have been what color? Green. So you will have like this whole page full of it. Excuse me. All of this, and then you're only going to open up the ones that fail. You expand it, investigate why fail. It tells you this was okay. This was okay. Where do you need to debug your code? Then text file site should display. You know it failed there. So you go to your project and you go to text file site should display. You control click on it and you are in here, and then you start debugging this code right there. Simple? Yeah. And you put your debug. Did AP teach you this debug buttons? Why is it not coming up right there? You double click and have this debug dots and run it as a debug. It's going to slow down and do one step at a time. And then you check why. Where does it fail? You do one step right here. Doesn't fail. You know there's no problem here. You run it again. You do this one. It moves to this one. You know there's no problem here. You debug and run this step and it fails. You know something wrong with this code. Then you go dig deeper. You control click on this, go into in here and see if you did a mistake there. That's how you fix things. Okay? Raise your hand if you need me to show you how to clone this project. All right. Awesome. Right. For one person? Rustam, you can handle that. Hey, thanks guys. I know I killed you today. Just your homework. See if you can recreate everything I did today. If not, worst case, you clone the project. After you clone the project, here's a test case that you're going to automate. Bank cash, new account, you have done it already. But you have not played with BDD, where what goes. You already have code for it. You're just going to have to copy paste the code. Okay? That's it. You don't have to write anything new. If you can copy paste and code into your BDD project and run it and it works, success. That will be awesome. All right. So that's your goal for next weekend. And I will have maybe 30 minutes for somebody who did this to display and demo it to the class. If no more questions, online folks, do you all have any questions?
Next week, what week are we on?
Next week looks like we are going to have classes. And it's going to be 21st and 22nd. No classes on the 28th and 29th. When you come back January 4th, one last class, Jenkins I'll show you how we take our project and run it online.
So I will try to clone it. If not, then my computer is an issue or what will be the.
It could be, but if you can't clone it, then create your own. Watch the video.
No, because of the computer, remember that.
I have to look at it. It could be anything in that case.
First try it. No, I'll try it out.
Do you want me to walk you through right now?
Yeah, sure, if you can, because it's a
Are you logged in?
No. I can do it right now.
Okay.
There is something you want to, because I'm going to phone it with him if you want to check it out.
Okay.
Seriously, because my computer is
I'll keep the recording on so if somebody wants to watch this. But go ahead and log in into the meeting. Supposed to meet somebody.
Heading?
No, I'm gonna go home after I talk to Adnan.
I'm going to do this part now.
Money, you going this week, right?
I guess so. It depends on what he tells me.
Lucky guys. Good luck.
Good luck to you too.
Thank
Good luck to everybody.
All right, you were signed in as Deepika?
Yeah.
Okay, go to share, please.
Where?
Share your screen.
Okay, here.
This is your screen? All right. Go to File Explorer, which is right down here.
Go to this PC.
Yeah, I think, where did you have it?
It's in.
Actually, I need to unmute you. Or mute you. Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, go to users. Where do you usually have your? No. Go to this PC. Click on this local disk.
Here it is.
Click on users.
The users are, no, this is something else. These are not.
Here, do this.
I think it's,
No, go back to this PC. It doesn't matter where it is. Go back to this PC.
I'm a dude.
Okay? No, you went too far back. Go to local disk. Okay, stay here. Right click in this empty spot. Look at the screen. I'm giving you guidance there. Come on in. Okay. You with me?
yeah.
And click get, well, actually do a new folder.
Okay. New folder.
And give it a name called BDD. Do the same. Okay, enter. Open it up. In here, right click. Go to Git Bash here. Type in here git init. Enter. Initialized empty Git repository. Now it's ready for you to accept Git commands. Now, type in git space clone, don't hit enter. Okay, give me one more space. Okay, now let's go copy that URL. So go to TechFile site. Copy that. Paste it in the WordPad or Notepad. Now copy from here. And go to that Git Bash window. And right click here. Click paste. Now hit enter. Success. So you want to get this done thing. That means it's working. Now, close this out. And go to your file explorer, which is right here. And do you see this is your local disk? Here's your BDD folder. And inside your BDD folder, you have a project that migrated called TechFiles BDD. You cloned it. That's why it came here. Now we're going to open this into Eclipse. So go to Eclipse and go to File and go to Import. Now before you do that, cancel it out. You have a lot of things in here. So close this out. Like collapse. Still a lot. You can change workspace. You can go to File and go to Switch Workspace and click on Other. And in here, Browse, and we can go to the folder we created. Click on, if you scroll down here, Local Disk. We created BDD. Just click once and select folder. That's okay. And then say launch. This is going to close out and open up for you in a fresh. But actually, you need the code from the other one, so probably shouldn't have switched. That's okay. You can open up another one too. So you can close this out now. And wait for Eclipse to open. In here, close this and click on the files. All right. Go to File, Import, click on it. Expand General. Existing project into Workspace. Click there. Hit Next. Now browse the project. Don't do that. Yeah, that is it. We're inside BDD and TechFiles BDD is the project. So you just click once and select that folder. Down here, hit finish. And see it's right there. Right click on it. And go to Maven. Sorry, run as. And do Maven build. Yeah. And it's going to give you this option. Type in clean install. Clean install, no end. Space. And then run. Maximize the screen. Check right here, it's installing things. And check right here, you want to get a build success. Just move this up. Build failure. No compiler is provided in this environment. Perhaps you are running JRE rather than JDK. So we're going to check to see if we're running JRE instead of JDK because we need to run JDK. How do you check that? Go to Windows. Go to Preferences. Go to Java. Expand it out. And click on Install JRE or expand that out. And this should say JDK. But see, it's JRE. So we need to change that. To modify that, double click on it. Then this window opens. We don't want JDK, we want JRE. So go to Directory. And see this, you are inside JRE folder. And that folder belongs to this folder, Java folder. So click here. Let's see what else is in Java folder. You click too much back. Cancel out. Yeah. Again, browse. Directory. Just one click on Java. In that folder, you have JDK 1.8. You also have JDK 12. You're supposed to delete that version, but it's still there. Don't try to delete it from here. You have to uninstall it. There's a process for that. Otherwise, it start acting up. This is what we need, JDK 1.8. So check that and select folder. It's supposed to say JDK, but that's okay. Hit finish. We want to see that to be JDK, so that is. And now say apply and close. Okay, go ahead and right click and run as Maven build. Fail to execute goal Apache Maven compiler test compile. Can you probably don't have Maven. See. Can you scroll to the right? On tick first compilation failure. Go back. Scroll down to the full stack rerun Maven using X. Okay. Go in here and type in CMD. Open it up. type in Java space dash version. Enter. Okay, now type in JAVAC space dash version. Enter. Java compiler not recognized. Your environment variables are not set up. You're gonna make me do this right now? That's that installation video. Okay. Type in MVN, VN, V as Victor,
MVN, okay.
space dash dash version. Enter. Okay, this is gonna take 30 minutes. This is what you do. There's this video right here. Let me take over presentation. And it's only failing because those things are not set up properly. So what you need to do is, it's simple, but you have to do this one by one and make sure all that works. If you go to Tech Files, Object Spy, log in like you with your usual login, and you go to Selenium class, you go to Content, and what batch are you in?
Summer 2019.
Summer 2019. So you click on Summer 2019 and submit, and the very first video, which should be at the very last, it's gonna say installation and configuration of JDK Maven. If you watch the video link here, it will walk you through exactly what I was, if I were to do it right now for you. Here, I'll tell you where you need to forward to. Available. The first thing we want to look, have nothing to worry about, and installation instruction is also provided if you to sign up or create an account. Once you create an account, then the download starts. And you already have Java, so you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Circling motion going on, so you have that too. Variable right here, a path to it, and you want
15, 14 minutes.
it has, yeah, you should totally fine. Yeah, so you have these files. Make sure that, see that? All of your, so you're up to here. Check from like 14 minutes or 15 minutes. Now, once you have installed JDK on your computer, you need to set environment variables. Oh, by the way, you have instruction right here. This tab, and you scroll down to install JDK. It doesn't say that I am following, which is install JDK right here, and I will set environment variable for JDK, and fix that also on the side. I'll walk you through. So the simplest way to do that is you type in environment variables at the bottom left corner here. Type in environment, and you will see this option now. It is environment variables for account, and if you click on that, or it's system environment, yeah, this is the one. It is the system environment variables. You will see a window pop up just like this. This is the properties, and towards the bottom, got it? Watch that, set it up, and check. It shows you how to check to see if the setup worked. Okay. You will have to go to CMD and type that version again, and then rerun that project that you have in your platform. And then that should have no errors.
Hi, Stein.
Hey, what's going on?
Robin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to getting the same build failure machine, but I have the MVN in my computer though.
Let me see. What kind of build failure? Okay, let me read that message. Can you scroll to the right? Compilation. Okay, CMD open up. All right, your Java is fine. Java compiler is fine. Maven is also fine.
But my problem is this.
Have you set environment variables? Go back into this, type in environment variables on the search box. Let me check your environment variables. Open that. Yeah.
This one?
No, the one that says system environment variable. Close this one. It did open up directly to this folder. I don't like it.
Okay.
Again, environment. Just type in env, the first top one. All right, now click on environment variables and Java underscore home. You have that M2. That's the mistake right there. M2 dash home. It should be underscore home. Is that M2? Yeah. Double click on it. Change that to underscore home. Underscore. Okay. Now scroll down and look for path. Double click on that. You have Maven and JDK there as well. You have too many JDKs. You have JDK 12. You gotta delete those. You have
Okay.
JDK 13. System is getting all confused. That should do it, okay?
Okay.
Scroll up. Okay, do me a favor. Click on M2 underscore home. Copy that URL or the path. Cancel this. Create new. No,
Here?
not that. Down.
Here? Okay.
Type in Maven, all capital, MAVEN, underscore home. And now paste the URL there, or the path. And click OK. Click OK. Click OK. Close the CMD. Go to Help. Install new software. Add. Type in natural. And copy paste the URL from my site for natural.
Add.
Add. Click on the natural. Can you expand it? Okay, so you already have it. Cancel it. Cancel this window. Okay, right click. Again, build. Run as Maven build. Okay.
It's again shoulder build error.
I am not sure what's going on now. And
Okay.
it could be a simple error from setting the environment variable, or maybe having, let me see, go to Windows, go to Window, click on Preference. It is, you are mapping to JDK 1.8, so it should be fine, but you, looks like you did have some other files with JDK 12, and I wonder if those are causing any issues. But can you cancel? It has some illegal character login runner. So let's trace the runner class. Go to source. No, not that source. Like, go to test package, test folder, runner, expand it, and double click on the runner class. We're gonna look for this weird character that's kind of throwing us some error.
The quotation. We need to replace quotation.
No. Do Control Shift F-O. Okay, for some reason it's finding this weird character, so it could be hidden somewhere here. Get your cursor on line 15. Hit a backspace. Now hit delete button once. No,
This
just
one?
click the, in your keyboard. Press the delete button once. Press Control S to save. That didn't do it. Can you delete the runner class? Go and delete it out.
This one?
Yeah, delete it. Right click, delete.
Okay.
Continue. Now right click on the runner class and create another runner class. Give it the name login runner. Finish. Okay. Go to my site and paste code from there. Take that. Copy. Put it in a notepad. Okay, copy this. Not here, right on top of that, yeah. Is it there? Get the dependencies or the imports. You deleted something important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put a curly brace right after login runner. Accidentally that got deleted.
Oh,
Okay. Control S to save. Now hover over runner. Actually go to the project. Right click on the project. The project
yeah.
name. Tech Files BDD. Yeah, right click there. Run as Maven Bill. That's fine. Okay, there you go.
Okay.
All right, I gotta go, but you got a starting point here. I'm gonna record the stop the video here. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Alam.
You're welcome. So practice with that. Try to do your homework, and I'll see you next weekend.
Sure.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.